She observes everything, every move you make, every hesitation, every time you diminish or lower yourself. The greatest leaders in the world, from presidents to CEOs, know that power is not just about what you do. It is about what you would never do. That seemingly harmless gesture you just made, it just destroyed your entire image of authority. Have you noticed how certain men enter any environment and instantly command respect? It is not a coincidence. Think about great corporate leaders, international diplomats, military commanders. They all share certain behaviors that silently communicate power. In the series Billions, the character Bobby Axelrod demonstrates this dominant presence that transcends his material possessions. When he enters a room, everyone feels his authority, not because he shouts or intimidates, but because his behaviors refined over years project unwavering confidence. And believe it, when a woman observes you commit these mistakes, she does not need to say anything. The verdict has already been silently given. The door of opportunities closes, respect disappears, attraction evaporates. Social psychology studies from Princeton University demonstrate that we form 90% of our impressions about someone in the first 4 minutes of interaction, and these impressions are extremely difficult to reverse. The first fatal mistake, apologizing excessively. When Winston Churchill led England during the darkest moments of World War II, he did not keep apologizing for every difficult decision. A powerful man takes responsibility when he makes a mistake, but never apologizes for small incidents, for his presence, or for occupying his space. At the latest Hollywood Awards Gala, I observed an award-winning actor, whom you certainly know, repeatedly apologizing before speaking with a studio executive. "Sorry to bother you. Pardon the interruption. I am sorry for taking your time." With each unnecessary apology, I saw his power and authority draining away. The executive, noticing the insecurity, kept the conversation brief and superficial. A study by the American Psychological Association found that men who apologize frequently are perceived as 47% less trustworthy in leadership positions. The same study showed that excessive apologies are interpreted as signs of incompetence and lack of preparation. Contrast this with David Beckham's behavior at public events. He never initiates a conversation with apologies. He approaches with calm confidence, knowing that his presence adds value. It is not about arrogance, but about knowing his own worth. Observe how he interacts with royal figures, world leaders, or celebrities, always maintaining the same confident posture without diminishing his presence. Richard Templar, author of The Rules of Power, writes that one of the biggest mistakes executives make is the automatic apology. When you apologize unnecessarily, he explains, you are training people around you to see you as someone who constantly needs to be forgiven. Each unnecessary sorry is like a small cut to your image of power. And women, with their extraordinary social intelligence, immediately notice these subtle signals. Anthropologists from the University of Michigan have documented how women in executive positions unconsciously evaluate the language of men in business meetings, identifying speech patterns that signal insecurity versus authority. Have you ever stopped to count how many times you apologize in a single day? For arriving at the scheduled time, for asking a legitimate question, for expressing your opinion, for existing. Try counting. The result will surprise you. A client of mine documented 37 apologies in a single day, most completely unnecessary. The second behavior that powerful men never exhibit, seeking constant validation. When a man repeatedly asks, "What did you think? Did I do well? Did you like it?" He is transferring his power to the other person. He is declaring, "Your judgment defines my worth." Think about the character Don Draper from Mad Men. He presents his ideas with absolute conviction. He does not ask if they are good. He knows they are. It is not that he does not value feedback, it is that he does not need external validation to know his own worth. It is the difference between asking for approval and sharing excellence. Neuroscience explains why seeking validation is so harmful. A Stanford University study demonstrated that men who regularly seek external validation show elevated levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, even when receiving positive feedback. This vicious cycle creates an emotional dependency that manifests in increasingly insecure behaviors. A recent Harvard Business School study analyzed behaviors of CEOs from Fortune 500 companies. Do you know what they discovered? The most respected leaders rarely sought external validation. They presented ideas, accepted criticism when necessary, but never seemed insecure about their contributions. The study also revealed that executives who frequently asked for affirmation were 34% less likely to be promoted to even higher positions. Robert Greene, author of The 48 Laws of Power, writes, "Never appear too eager, for eagerness demonstrates lack of power." He observes that historical, powerful figures shared a characteristic. They acted with decision without seeking. Constant reassurance. At a business dinner in Manhattan a few weeks ago, I witnessed a powerful real estate entrepreneur present a vision for a new development. He did not ask, "What do you think?" after his presentation. He simply said, "Let us discuss the next steps." The message was clear. His vision was not under judgment. The power was with him. What impressed was not arrogance. He was completely open to suggestions, but his unwavering confidence. In the realm of personal relationships, psychologists have identified constant validation as one of the main behaviors that diminish female attraction. Dr. Helen Fisher, anthropologist and researcher of human relationships, observed that the repeated search for approval activates brain centers associated with childish behaviors, not with desirable romantic partners. When you seek validation from a woman, you are communicating that she holds the power to judge your worth. It is like handing over the keys to your kingdom. An elegant man values female opinion, but does not depend on it for his self-esteem. The difference is subtle but crucial, and she instantly notices it. The third mistake that powerful men never make, allowing interruptions. Observe the behavior of the late Steve Jobs in interviews. When he spoke, no one dared to interrupt him. Not because he shouted or intimidated, but because his presence communicated authority. A fascinating MIT study on conversational dynamics revealed that executives who were frequently interrupted in meetings were 63% less likely to have their ideas implemented, regardless of the quality of those ideas. The same study showed that respected leaders were not interrupted, not because they imposed silence through aggressiveness, but because they cultivated what researchers called dominant conversational presence. In a recent meeting with a client, I observed with fascination how he handled interruption attempts. Without raising his voice, he simply continued speaking, maintaining eye contact until completing his thought. Then, gently, he would ask, "Did you want to add something?" The respect in the room was palpable. This technique, known as vocal continuity, is taught in executive leadership programs at leading business schools. Chris Voss, former FBI, hostage negotiator and author of Never Split the Difference, teaches that the ability to maintain your vocal space without being interrupted is one of the most important skills in high-risk negotiations. When you allow constant interruptions, explains Voss, you are signaling that your words, and by extension, you yourself, do not deserve complete attention. Weak men allow themselves to be constantly interrupted. They stop mid-sentence, lose their train of thought and yield the stage. Each accepted interruption is a small abdication of power. Researchers from the University of California have documented how high-performance executives use specific techniques to maintain their conversational space, from deliberate control of speech rhythm to strategic body positioning. And when you are with a woman, whether in a professional or personal context, she is closely observing how you handle these dynamics. She is evaluating, consciously or unconsciously, does this man defend his space? Does he deserve my respect? Anthropologists have identified this type of evaluation as a universal behavior in all cultures studied, an evolutionary mechanism to identify high-value partners and allies. The fourth behavior that powerful men never exhibit: submissive body language. Studies from Columbia University show that we literally occupy less physical space when we feel insecure. We hunch, cross our arms, avoid eye contact. The great world. Leaders are specifically trained in physical presence. They maintain erect posture, deliberate gestures, and occupy their space without hesitation. It is no accident that historical powerful figures are frequently portrayed in expansive positions. The next time you are in a meeting, observe how the most respected men in the room physically behave. Do they shrink in their chairs? Do they whisper? Do they gesture nervously? Of course not. A fifth critical error: disclosing insecurities. I am a little nervous today. I am not very good at this. I will probably mess everything up. Phrases like these are poison to your image of power. When you verbalize insecurities, you are asking for comfort and reassurance. You are placing yourself in the position of a child, not a leader. A friend of mine, a banking sector executive, was about to make a crucial presentation when I heard him telling his assistant, "I am so nervous I barely slept." I immediately noticed the subtle change in her look. From respect to concern, he had transformed the power dynamic with a single phrase. This does not mean pretending perfection or repressing genuine emotions. It means being strategic about what you share and how. A powerful man can admit challenges, but always with a problem-solver perspective. This project presents interesting obstacles. I am working on several approaches. The sixth behavior that powerful men avoid: criticizing other men to impress women. In movies and series, we often see the cool character winning the girl by highlighting the flaws of his rival. In real life, this tactic reveals insecurity and desperation. Truly powerful men do not need to diminish others to stand out. They recognize the qualities of their peers and competitors, thus demonstrating security in their own worth. Criticizing other men in front of women does not signal superiority. It signals envy and insecurity. At a networking event last year, I observed a senior executive and a mid-level manager talking with a marketing VP. The manager repeatedly made deprecating comments about absent colleagues, while the senior executive only acknowledged the positive contributions of each person mentioned. Guess which one the VP sought out to continue the conversation later? The seventh fatal error: demonstrating financial desperation. When a man constantly complains about money, discusses prices, or shows excessive concern with costs, he projects scarcity instead of abundance. A powerful man has a healthy relationship with money. He does not spend impulsively to impress, but also does not show anxiety when investing in quality experiences. He understands value beyond price. In a starred restaurant in Paris, I witnessed a man questioning each item on the bill, verifying if the prices exactly matched the menu, creating an uncomfortable moment for everyone at the table. His companion, visibly embarrassed, never accepted another invitation from him. Compare this with the elegance of paying the bill without making comments about the prices, without hesitation, without discomfort. This is not a matter of wealth, but of mindset. A man can have limited resources and still demonstrate an attitude of abundance and financial control. The eighth behavior that destroys power: talking too much. Excessive verbosity often masks insecurity. Powerful men are economical with words. They speak when they have something valuable to say, not to fill silences. Look at the great leaders of history. Their most memorable statements are often the most concise. George Washington's inaugural speech contained only 135 words. Lincoln's famous Gettysburg Address lasted only 2 minutes. A client of mine, CEO of a technology company, was frustrated at not getting the respect he wanted in board meetings. After analyzing his behavior, we identified the problem. He spoke 3 times, more than any other executive in the room. Each valid point was diluted in unnecessary explanations, tangential stories, and repetitions. When he learned to communicate with precision and concision, the dynamic completely changed. People would lean forward when he began to speak. His suggestions were implemented. His power was restored. Strategic silence is an extremely underestimated power tool. When you are comfortable with pauses in conversation, you demonstrate emotional control and inner security. Women notice this instantly. The 9th fatal error: demonstrating jealousy or possessiveness. Weak men obsessively monitor their partners, question every social interaction, and demonstrate insecurity when other men are present. Researchers from the University of Rochester conducted a 5-year study on romantic relationships and discovered that excessive jealousy is the behavior most quickly identified by women as a red flag in potential partners. Even more revealing, the study demonstrated that men who exhibited possessive behaviors were consistently rated as less attractive and less masculine, regardless of their physical appearance. Dr. John Gottman, renowned relationship researcher, identified possessiveness as one of the 4 most destructive behaviors in relationships, along with criticism, defensiveness, and contempt. His work demonstrates that these behaviors not only harm existing relationships, but also signal deep insecurity that is immediately perceptible in social interactions. A powerful man understands that real control does not come from external restrictions, but from creating such a strong connection that his partner freely chooses to remain loyal.